Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Jordan here with another Warhammer Total War online commentary. In this particular battle, I will be playing the Beastmen, and I'll be facing off against a Dwarvish opponent. So, just to preface this, in the past few games, I've been having a lot of success against Dwarves with Cygor spam. So essentially, I would bring Malagor, I'd bring another Bray Shaman with the Lore of the Wild, and then I'd also bring a Cygor. So I'd end up having 3 Cygors. And again, the Dwarves aren't a mobile faction, so the Cygors, I feel, if you can position them correctly, can really just wreak havoc. And then what that does is it forces the Dwarves to march towards you. And again, you can usually outmaneuver them in that situation. So, I just decided to go with the Cygor spam, and it had been paying off for me. And this game is definitely a good lesson, and it taught me not to do that every game. So as far as my front line goes, I have Goreherds with shields. These units are going to be quite good. Dwarves usually bring quite a bit of missile fire, so again, these are going to be good. I have 2 back lines of shielded Minotaurs here, so again, this is my strike team. They'll be able to chase down high-value units, break through the front line, and take missile fire while doing it. Right here, I also brought a Gorbel. He has his potions, he's ready to rock, he's definitely here to party. And then I have Malagor as well as that Bray Shaman, just having the double Cygor fun. And this game I actually decided to bring Ungor Raiders. When I go heavily with Cygors, meaning that I actually invest in a non-summoned one, I always like to bring at least one Ungor Raider to deal with like Gyrocopters and annoying things like this. But I definitely was not expecting my opponent to bring this many Gyrocopters. And again, it's a pretty good way of dealing with this. If you're playing a lot of opponents on ladder as Dwarves who are just spamming a ton of Cygors, these freaking Gyrocopters will just take them down so quick. And they're also quite good against Minotaurs and other large units. They have armor piercing and they're anti-large as well. And Ungor Raiders, even if I had brought in like 3 or 4 of them, they do such pitiful damage that they can't really stop them from killing your big units, to be honest. So definitely something to consider when you're playing the Dwarves against the Beastmen. As far as his army, obviously he invested so heavily in those troops over there, the Brimstone Gunners or the Gyrocopters. I don't know, yeah, they are Brimstone. That he wasn't able to invest much in his infantry. So he has some Dwarf Warriors here. Some Longbeards, he has a group of Thunders, some Longbeards, another group of Thunders, then he has Dwarf Warriors and Longbeards. So again, a very low tier ground army, and he just has Ungrim here, which is good because again, a lot of his army here is going to get crushed, so he probably wants this guy, which actually has, it's pretty good now that I think about it, because Ungrim, his leadership will never break, so even if this entire army gets crushed and Ungrim's still alive, that gives his Gyrocopters more time to really tear into my troops, so definitely some good thinking there. Perhaps a group of Slayers would have been good as well. So without further ado, let's get started. So he immediately flies into position, and I was kind of bummed. So I decided, hey, why not? Let's just take some boulder shots at these guys. But these Cygors are not going to hit those freaking things. I mean, he just swung and missed for sure. I mean, I have had games where the Cygor has taken these out. Not a whole group, but it's taken out a copter or 2. So I immediately know what he's up to, and I'm just like kind of bumming because I was planning on summoning multiple Cygors. And at that same time, I have no way of dealing with this. So these freaking Brimstones are just going to rain heck down on my Minotaurs here, and will do really good against them, as well as the Gorbel. I have a bunch of large units, and Beastmen usually do. So these Ungor Raiders, thankfully, were able to occupy them, so they weren't shooting at my Minotaurs, and, they're going to get chasing off. Ungor Raiders have extremely low leadership, and, these Copters are going to do pretty good against them. I would have needed like 3 or 4 groups here to deal with this. And of course, this poor Cygor is just getting absolutely destroyed, so he's not going to get any value out of that. So go ahead and fast forward a little bit while we posture up here. So again, he was on the high ground here, and I didn't want to engage from down here because then he would have had a pretty good angle with these Thunders. They would have been able to shoot downhill at my guys, and would have been an ugly situation. So I immediately march up the hill, and he wisely realizes that he had crushed what little resistance there stood to these Gyrocopters, and he immediately begins to target my my units down here, and he'll start shooting at these Minotaurs and my Gorbel and just all that stuff, and doing really good. And as you can see, it knocked over my Shaman there. Very cool. So again, I posture up and just wanted to get a direct line up with him before, so I could have an optimal engagement. And I do summon 2 Cygors because I realized I kind of needed to go all in here. And these Cygors would do pretty good throwing. Unfortunately, he also did a good job spreading out his army. It's not going to be good for the melee engagement per se, but it's good against the Cygors, which was definitely worked out for him. So this Gorbel, again, is going to come in here and just demolish these Dwarf Warriors. He'll do very good work. And I was willing to have him take that Thunder Fire because I did have 2 potions on him. So he's just going to be able to go down to, what, 30-40% and then heal to full. Those Cygors, of course, are just swinging and missing. So definitely not a good situation for me. And these long beards with great weapons will do pretty good against these Minotaurs here. But again, with the Gore Herd as fodder, I'll cut through them quite quickly. So my concern wasn't necessarily his units here. I knew I would crush his forces very quickly. It was just these Brimstone Gyrocopters. Well, he has some regular Gyrocopters and then some with Brimstone, if I'm not mistaken, who are just laying into my my leadership. You see, they're very good at taking these guys out, and they're just focusing Malagor, and there wasn't anything I could really do about it. It was definitely an interesting strategy, and I think again in a Dwarvish matchup, perhaps bring some more Ungor Raiders, or at least have a very core group of those that could have just, if I had 4 or 5 groups, and they're very cheap. I mean, for one group of these Gyrocopters, I could easily field, several groups of Ungor Raiders who could deal with them quite well. So it's definitely tough. As far as the main, battles going, Ungrim's doing pretty good. I did send the Gorbel back here to occupy all these guys, and it's doing pretty well. It's not taking any damage really, even though it's shaken. So definitely not good for me. I believe that's what ends up happening. Over here, these Gore Herds are doing well. Again, these Longbeards are a superior unit, and we'll be able to crush through them. Right here, these Minotaurs, they did really well. And there's also a Bray Shaman in there, and they just crushed this line here. Down here, I did lose this battle. And in the central battle, I ended up pulling the Cygors here, because they were just missing, so I figured they needed to get in there and do some ground and pound and some MMA on these guys. So they're doing pretty well. Back here, again, as you can see, most of my troops were routed off by these by this Air Force. And I should have brought some Centaurs, so I could have came in and collapsed him faster, and that's what really needed to happen. I needed to crush his ground forces faster than these things could get through my leadership. But unfortunately for me, that was not how the cookie crumbled, at least at this particular time in the battle. But thankfully, these Minotaurs were able to do really, really good work over there. And he was chasing me with these units, so I was kind of just running laps and having them chase me. And I wanted to get here and perhaps try and take out the core of his army and his leadership. But again, Ungrim is no chump, and he is going to be able to last for quite a while. And just look at this arc of fire just teeing off on my units. And I do have a lot of units who are broken, and I'm trying to path them back as best I can. But definitely a very, very tough pitched battle here. So the Minotaurs are doing quite well. They are shielded, so they're going to be a little more resilient against that missile fire. But again, they're just taking so much damage. And these Dwarvish infantry, even the low tier ones, have very, very high leadership. So they're going to last a long time. And unfortunately, that group of Thunders, which I did chase off, have come back. And I do see that. And I pulled these Gore Herds who are on my southern flank down here and have them get down there to help out. And hopefully we'll be able to lock them down. But he did bring some Dwarf Warriors here to help out. And they should be able to stop those Gore Herds, to be honest. So definitely very tough. The one thing I have going for me is these Minotaurs are in good health. My Gorbel is still in very good health. I have a Bray Shaman here who I've been using various abilities on and augmentations. I believe I was buffing my Gorbel for a while. And as you can see, it's paying off. He's still in full health. So I figured that if I could really crush this force here and take Ungrim out with these giants, I would be able to win because on some sort of a leadership route. And again, if all of your ground forces are destroyed and all you have is air units left, it will slowly start a countdown in which you actually lose the game by not having any ground forces. So that was kind of my hope here. And over here, it's kind of just chaotic. This Cygor, I just figured might as well have him finish off these Dwarf Warriors. Again, marching him over here, they would just be hacking at his leg, so I figured might as well. And I already have this guy over here who's doing pretty well. Though he's a little bummed out his lord is dead. Malagor definitely bit the bullet pretty hard. This Bray Shaman's still doing pretty well. It is shaken. And these Minotaurs, again, are very, very resilient, so they're doing their best. And, of course, the Gorbel, I'm trying to remember where he went. Did he route off? No, I believe he's in here somewhere. But unfortunately, Ungrim, he did take a beating, and Ungrim cannot carry potions, so I was happy. If I can finish him, that would have been a pretty big leadership hit, though. If you look at the leadership of his troops, it's 50, 57, 60, so there needs to be a lot more damage before their leadership goes down. And most of my units are, broken or getting close to being broken, so go ahead and fast forward a little bit because I know this is going to be kind of tedious in these situations. Not a lot of action going on. And he does eventually rout off the Gorbel. I did use both potions, and he had those Brimstone guns shooting it down, and that was kind of my last pocket of resistance there. And these Thunders were also getting some nice shots on it. So he actually eventually dives into melee with these Gyrocopters, knowing that it's not going to fight back. It's actually shattered. And this Bray Shaman is just freaking the last samurai over here, just taking gunfire, running through the fields. And unfortunately, these guys with great weapons in conjunction with these copters will do pretty well. So most of my troops were crushed. I do have a healthy Cygor over here, so I was pretty happy. It was still confident. Its morale hadn't broken. So I was like thinking, maybe, just maybe he can break through. And Ungrim was too low to fight. If Ungrim had come in, look at this guy. He's just a trooper, just taking the business to the beasts. But if he had come in, he could have gotten stomped out by this Cygor, which could have been really bad for my opponent, especially in a battle this close. Unfortunately, though, I don't really have much left other than that Cygor. So, think that was it. Yeah, I had a few units. I had some gore herds coming back from routing, and I had some minotaurs who are wavering, but I was still optimistic because if you look at my opponent, most of his troops are very low. But I still have this Cygor here. He's pissed off. He's ready for action, and thankfully he's coming right to me. I think I actually went to throw a boulder there, but then decided to go into melee. So thankfully this other Cygor does come back and is able to throw some boulders here. So I remember I was actually trying to just pick off his general. Look at this, just the last ditch attempt, which was pretty funny. But he just gets a few nice shots here, and my opponent sees that immediately and sends over his Air Force to deal with it. And look at him, he's getting ready. He's definitely in the shooting gallery here. I actually don't remember if I get him, but I'll suppose we'll find out here in a second, won't we, guys? So he takes a nice shot there. Oh, and that was a direct hit. That was a good one, man. That was real good. So Ungrim did meet his end. His doom did indeed approaches, as he always suspects, and. Over here, though, unfortunately, this Cygor is already shaken. His leadership is 19. And his homeboy over here is not having fun. That was a nice shot there. So I didn't, think that I had lost yet. Most of his units are gone. And now that his lord is gone, all of his units' leadership is really low. You got 42 over here. You have 19 here. Back here, you have some of these units are broken and retreating. So, but unfortunately, he does bring these gyrocopters in, knowing that he needs to have some ground troops. And he just starts battling his gyrocopters with my Cygor. And, the one thing that my opponent has going for him is my leadership is very low. If this Cygor had, stand and fought for a little bit longer, I might have been able to do something here. But regardless, I did have these Minotaurs and this Gore Herd that come back, but their leadership is so low. It's at 3 right now and 15. So if anything goes wrong for them, they're just going to turn and run. If there's anything they don't like, they step in a caltrop, anything, they're just not going to come back. And as you can see, they're wavering. So, and these gyrocopters landing is enough to send my units into disarray. So that was the end of the battle there, and man, that was a good battle and a good display of how to deal with the Cygor spam as dwarves. Again, though, it's kind of a risk, because if your opponent doesn't, bring the Cygor and, the double Lore of the Wild, like I did, having all those gyrocopters could really backfire on you. So also did a good job sniping Malagor. So again, I should have brought a few more Ungor Raiders, even though I really hate bringing them. I just feel like they're kind of a dumpster unit. I guess they're good in some situations. That's what needed to happen. Perhaps like lose one of these, Gore herds here, or just bring just Malagor instead of the Bray, and then bring, because if I didn't bring this Bray Shaman, I could have brought, more infantry. I could have brought more Ungor Raiders, but in a lot of matchups against dwarves, especially with the ones that turtle, the Cygor spam is quite good. So really good on my opponent. He did a great job, and it was a really fun battle. It was definitely very close and very pitched. So good game to Morgan Grat. Look forward to seeing you again on Ladder, and just want to thank you guys for watching. Appreciate your support, and more content coming soon. Take care, everyone.